Yes, hello, baby. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Yanek Show, episode 42. I hope that you're doing well. I hope that you're having a great week and everything is absolutely brilliant and smashing. Listen, thank you for joining me so much. This episode, I'm going to do something a little bit different that I think a lot of people are going to find interesting. And the reason I came up with the structure of today's episode is because recently, I was a guest on a podcast, maybe like 3-4 days ago. The podcast is going to drop this Sunday, okay? I'm not going to tell you what the podcast is, and I'm not going to tell you the name of it and all that type of stuff. If you want to find out the podcast, it was crazy, okay? It was about 40 minutes, I think, and we talked about crazy shit and a lot of stories and all that type of stuff. It was very, very funny. If you want to find out what the podcast is, you have to follow me on social media, okay? You can find me on Instagram at Mike Yanek, or you can find my Facebook page at Mike Yanek Show, okay? And thank you so much for all of the people who've liked the page and who are following me and all that type of stuff. I post a lot of jokes and memes and funny stuff, and I do a lot of self-promotion because I'm shameless when it comes to self-promotion. Now, in the story, in the podcast, okay, the whole concept of the podcast was, if you want to be a guest on the show, you have to teach the host something that he doesn't know about or something that he has never heard of. You know what I mean? And I was thinking, because, I saw, like one of the Facebook forums, the comedy forums, and I saw, I want to be a guest on that podcast. And straight away, I texted the host. And the first thing I said, I'm going to teach you about wrestling, about pro wrestling. But he said, because stand-up, there's a lot of stand-up comedians who are fan of pro wrestling, so he said, no, we already did an episode or two or whatever, and I was like, damn, okay. And then I was thinking about gangster movies, and he said, that's good, I do love gangster movies and gangster characters and all that type of stuff. And I said to him also, I said I was born in Bulgaria. I grew up in the 90's, and Bulgaria was quite wild and crazy. If you want, we can talk about that. And he said, "Oh, that's perfect, mate," because I've never. He said, "I've never had a Eastern European, as far as I know, a Eastern European guest on. So that would be brilliant if you want to talk about that." So I was like, "Okay." So I wrote down a few of my stories, and we did the podcast, and I started telling the stories, and he loved them. He was laughing so much, and he said that he will love for me to come again on the podcast, because it's not like an hour or like a 3 hour, it's only 20 to 30 minutes. So I kind of did like mini versions of all my stories. And anyway, and then we finished the podcast and we talked for a bit. And I was thinking, like, because he said, oh my God, these stories are so interesting, because he's an English guy, And I was thinking, like, because I have so many stories and I don't share them that much on the podcast, I don't know. I don't know if people are going to be interested in them, you know what I mean? I usually do either little segments, or like if I done a gig recently, I talk about it. And I was thinking why I don't, from time to time, obviously not always, but just share some of the crazy wild stories that, that I have from back in the day. And I think it's going to be very interesting, especially if you're like a Western European, or like if you're in America or Canadian, because Bulgaria's Eastern Europe. Post-communist and all that stuff. It's a very different life and all that type of stuff back in the day. Now things are pretty similar with the internet and type of stuff. So I'm going to tell you today the story of me, just pretty much my high school years, and how insane and crazy it was. So okay, let's do the intro. Let's do story time. Yes, in today's episode, like I said, we're doing my years during high school and all that type of stuff in the late 90's and early mid 2000s. Yeah, early 2000s and post-communist Bulgaria, and before the European Union, when everything was lawless, There was no laws and you can do whatever you want in Bulgaria. It was crazy. It was a beautiful time, okay? So, I was born in 1989. And towards the end of the year. So in Bulgaria, what we do is, when you are 7 years old, you start, that's the first grade, all right? You start school. Before that, you have, I think, 3 years of kindergarten, 3 or 4 years of kindergarten or something like that, right? So you start off. I was living and raised in a very working class neighborhood, like kind of broke and poor, let's be honest. I mean, back in the day, in the 90s, everybody was broke, so we were all working class pretty much, It's and it's kind of nice when you grow up in a neighborhood where everybody around you is the same economic levels as you, which you don't get that in the UK, because I've been to some neighborhoods. I used to do first job when I came here for 3 weeks. I used to knock door to door, kind of like a door to door salesman. I was selling some stupid shit or whatever. I don't know, was it insurance or whatever? This is some stupid shit. And in the UK, if you don't live in the UK, it's so crazy because you can literally have a road where it's like Conso estate, like really low housing income, and everybody's on benefits and people on drugs and they're fighting, and it's crazy. And you can literally walk 2 minutes, not even 2 minutes, just literally 2 streets down, and you can just turn and there's like a mansion, like literally like a millionaire just there, you know what I mean? Even the other day, like I was walking around and I saw like this. I went to like a little street I've never been before because I needed to go somewhere, and I was like beautiful houses, and it looked so suburban. But literally 2 minutes, if you walk in, you're on the main street, and it's fucking mayhem and chaos. You know what I'm saying? People crazy, people walking pit bulls. Mothers are pushing little strollers while the kids are wearing bandanas and having a knife, ready to stab somebody. There's prostitutes on the corner, just beautiful. Just picture it, you know what I'm saying? It's a beautiful picture to be seen. And no, obviously I'm joking. The babies don't carry knives here, but only in Liverpool, not in England, but only in Liverpool. Little Scouse babies with their knives. Hey, fucking hell, mate, give me some fucking money. I'll fucking stab you, you weak cunt. Boop, 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 boop. I can say that because I'm practically at this point, I'm an honorary Scouser. I've been living in Liverpool for 7 years, so I can make such offensive jokes like that. Okay, no, Liverpool is amazing. Anyway, so you don't get that in Bulgaria, you know what I mean? No, sorry, you don't get that type of stuff, like where you can have rich people and right next to them super poor people. You don't get that stuff in America and in Canada. As far as I know, I've never been there, but I know that because it's so big and the rich people are like, nah, piss off, you bastards, you know what I mean? We don't want to be next to the poor people, so they kind of like isolate in like different parts of town or gated community and stuff. But in England, everything is just jam-packed together because we're very kind of limited on space. There's not that much space, you know what I mean? It's like, just imagine New York City, you know what I'm saying? Like everything is just there, Manhattan or whatever. England is kind of the same. It's not that much space. And the big cities especially, everybody's on top of each other. So it's literally right next to each other. It's bizarre. It's weird, you know what I mean? But back in Bulgaria, like, it was like, you don't really like the rich people. They're kind of hiding away in the small. Either you have like a village around the big city or like a neighborhood, you know what I mean? They're kind of, or in the city center, some pockets of the city center. Because in Bulgaria, like you don't have Conso estate or like low income housing in the city center. That will never happen, bro. Not in a million years. You know what I mean? Only the very rich people live in the city center. And it's bizarre because the cities are very small. Like my neighborhood, I used to live like pretty much the outskirts of town is like the last neighborhood is my neighborhood. And I can walk. We used to walk to town sometimes on a good day, just walk about and just have some drinks or whatever, because, you can drink back in the day on the streets. And we just used to walk, when we were a teenager, to town. It's like 40 minutes or something, you know what I mean? If I start walking here 40 minutes, I'm not going to get anywhere. And I live very close to town. So here it's much, compared to Bulgaria, the cities are much, much bigger, you know what I mean? Bulgaria is a small country with not that much population. So when you are broke, it kind of sucks if there's like rich people driving around in Lamborghinis and stuff, you know what I mean? But in Bulgaria, everybody was broke, like, so you don't feel broke, you know what I mean? Because when you go out to the street and, we all live in the same shitty, apartments, the old school block of flats, whatever, that disgraceful. Oh my God, that architecture is a nightmare. And we all live in that, you know what I mean? So it's not, it doesn't feel like the way you, like, not in this country, because in this country you can feel, if you're broke, it really sucks if you're broke in this country, but not in Bulgaria, because like you don't need a lot of money to have fun in Bulgaria. That's one of the really good things. Because when I was a teenager, I'll get to the high school stuff. Don't worry about it. This is going to be like whole chapters and stuff. I think people find this interesting of Eastern Europe. And but when I was a teenager, when I used to party, like when I was 17, 18, 19, and then like I got into business, and then I moved to England. But when we used to party, you literally, because it's always sunny, like out of 12 months, the winter is like 2-3 months, and the other time is just either super hot for like 3 months, and the other time is just chill. So it's literally you have 9 months of sunshine. Even during the winter, it's sunny all the time. You know what I mean? Actually, Bulgaria, I think, is the second country with the most sunshine days per year after Spain, and it's literally with like 7 or 10 or 12 days difference. It's not that many, you know what I'm saying? So it's like it's always good weather. And back in the day, there was no rules and stuff. When the European Union came over in 2007, things kind of changed. But before that, nobody cares. So what we used to do is we used to buy. I used to love beer. That's the only thing I drank back in the day. I don't drink hard alcohol and that type of stuff. So we used to drink beer, and we used to have like these big big bottles of, I think they have them here as well, I don't drink, but like plastic bottles of beer, like 2 liters or whatever, and it's just like a shared beer, and we just get one of those, and you just sit somewhere in the park, you play music from your phone, you buy they call semki, which is sunflower seeds, these big bags of sunflower seeds, and they were so cheap. They were literally, a big bag is like 20 pence or whatever, like super cheap. And you get that, and you get maybe some snacks or whatever, and you just chill, or you go to the basketball court. Because like in my high school, we used to have this really nice basketball court, and we used to go there and play basketball all the fucking time. But in this country, they're all private. Like there's a school near my house, right? And they have 3 basketball courts, but they're all private. It's like, if I walked in after they finished school, a guard is gonna come up and be like, hold on, what are you doing here? You know what I mean? Which is Bulgaria, that's not the case. When people finish school, you can play. I mean, it's there, but not in here. Everything is private. And if I want to play, there's like football fields I've seen near the city center. They're like very nice, with lights and everything. But you have to pay, and you have to rent them. It's like, I don't know, 50 quid, 60 quid an hour or something. You have to rent with a bunch of people. But when you're broke, I don't have 60 quid, you know what I'm saying, when I'm broke. But not in Bulgaria, everything is free, you know what I mean? And even they had pitch, for football. I think even that's free. I mean, maybe on the weekend you have to pay, but during the week is free, So you get a lot of activities, and also you can go to the parks. They're very nice. You can go to town. There's like so much stuff to do in my city, Plovdiv. It's very historical city as well, so you have a bunch of stuff to go. You can go to galleries, you can go to museums. There's like so much shit to do. You can play sports. So we literally, and because it's small, we walk. When you're 18, you walk. You're full of energy all the time. You know what I'm saying? You just want to stab somebody. So you're full of energy and adrenaline and testosterone, and all that stuff. So we used to have so much fun with like literally no money. I used to get, I don't know, maybe like 3 quid, 4 quid or something, 5 quid max. And I'm talking about Bulgarian currency, which is even 5 leva is like 2 quid or whatever. And you can spend the whole day outside with your mates, and you just have a fun time. But in this country, if I go out, there's nothing, because it's always raining and the weather is shit, and the parks are very weirdly constructed in this country. You literally, if you're not from the UK watching this, the parks are very bizarre. It's literally a lawn, like this huge grass pitch with like 4 benches, and every bench is like literally in 200 meters away from each other. No, even more. And it's bizarre, you know what I mean? And it's always raining and the weather is shit. So if I go out, I need to go to town. And where am I going to go? Because the way things are built, I cannot stay outside. So I have to go either to the cinema, to the restaurant, to the comic book store. But I have to spend money, you know what I'm saying? So it's very like money oriented. So if you don't have money in this country, you're kind of fucked, because you have to stay at home all the time, or just if you're fortunate enough to have a garden or something, stay there when the weather is kind of okay. So you have to stay at home and watch TV all day. You know what I'm saying? So that's really, it's not nice. That's why but for me it's okay because I always keep myself busy and I do comedy, I do the podcast, I do like a million things. So even if the weather is not, even if the weather is bad, I don't mind. You know what I mean? And I go out maybe twice a week. I'm not one of those people to go like all the time. You know what I'm saying? I know people who are like out every single night at the bar and the chasing the girls and the restaurants, and I can't do that shit, man. I'm fucking 31, bro. I turned 31 recently. I'm old as fuck, dude. I don't do that stuff anymore. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, growing in Bulgaria was fucking crazy because, so I so 7 years old, I was in the first grade. Okay, and like I said, grew up in a poor neighborhood. We had two schools, right, in our neighborhood. No, we had, hold on, one, two, three. Oh, we had four, but they were like the, when you rate the whole schools in the city, and my city is a big one. I'm from the second biggest city in Bulgaria, so we had I don't know, a bunch of schools in the city. But if you rate them, I'm sure that our neighborhood schools will be at the bottom four. I'm not joking. One of the schools, it was like some sort of professional school or whatever, trade school for like woodwork or something. I'm not sure, something like that. And it was literally the worst school probably in the country. It was so bad, literally. And it was next to the jail because the prison. So the prison is in my neighborhood. So we have in Bulgaria, there are not that many prisons. I know we have one in Plovdiv. I know one in the capital, Sofia, and I think a few more. It's not like, I don't know, America probably have a mega jail in fucking every big city or whatever. But in Bulgaria, that's not the case. And the I used to live near. It's so bizarre because there were so many schools. I think there were 3 or 4 schools near the jail. So we had school for mentally. So we have school for mentally disabled kids. Which was literally 2 minutes away from the school. If you open the door, the only thing blocking the view between the mentally disabled kids' school and the jail was like a big block. Otherwise, if that block was not there, the jail is literally there. You know what I'm saying? You had, oh my God, we had so many. There was, because look, you need to understand, even sometimes when I speak and like the way I express myself, like, we don't have political correctness in Bulgaria, you know what I mean? So sometimes when I write comedy, when I do, performances, and sometimes I say very wild shit, you know what I mean? But I don't say it to be offensive. It's just like we don't, like, I'm not, like the first time I heard about, and I'm not exaggerating, about the concept of political correctness, I was 25. When I came to the UK, like before that, we never, you know what I'm saying? That's why a lot of people, like, I don't say offensive stuff, and I'm a very open-minded and tolerant person, I mean, especially this shirt. I mean, come on, how can you be prejudiced wearing this shirt? You know what I'm saying? Obviously, I'm very comfortable with who I am, and I love people, but sometimes I say wild shit, you know what I mean? And it just, because this is just how I was raised, That's why it's very interesting, because when I meet people from other countries, and Bulgaria is, back in the 90's, used to be a very conservative country. I'm not gonna lie. Just that was the situation. And when I meet people from more conservative countries, I get along very well with Asian people and people from Africa as well, because those countries are traditionally, except maybe I think Philippines and Thailand are a bit more. You know what I mean? They're quite left, and like, you know what I mean, they're quite accepting and stuff, but other countries, they are quite conservative. And when I meet people, because people from those countries, I know Indian people and Chinese people, and I know people from Ghana, and when I meet them, it's quite, we kind of get along, because like we kind of have the same sense of humor, and when they're my age and stuff, and they grew up with the same pop culture I did, but now we're here, and here it's very politically correct and very liberal and all that type of stuff. So I get along with people like that very nicely, and it's fun, you know what I mean? And compare stories from our, original home countries. It's quite nice, because you kind of see that people at the end of the day are pretty much the same, because they still have the same. They still had the same problems as like we do in Bulgaria, or their parents were very strict, or this or that, or or their father was a little bit homophobic or a little bit sexist, you know what I mean? And like, and you kind of start laughing because you're like, oh, I was brought up in the same way, you know what I mean? And it's funny when you meet person from a completely different part of the world, and then you see how, like, oh, okay, we're pretty much the same, we just look kind of different, you know what I mean? So that's always quite interesting. So I don't have that concept of political correctness because you know what I mean, it's something foreign to me, you know. But growing up in Bulgaria was insane, you know what I mean? So we had all the bad schools were in my neighborhood, you know. And I'll probably do part 2, by the way, because it's a very long story. Anyway, so we had the small, it's called, my school was called, should I mention the school? Fuck it, Vasila. I mean, nobody's gonna forget. That was the nickname of the school. So we had the small one and the big one, right? So the small one was from the 1st to the 4th grade, and the big one was whoever, you know, if you graduate in the small school, you can transfer to the big school, you know, or after the 4th grade, you can go to a different school, and maybe like a trade school, or maybe we had a math school, English school, the arts academy, a French school, you know what I mean? There's like all these different, you get qualification, you know? And if you're dumbass like I was, you just go to the big one and there's no qualification, you know what I mean? The teachers are all bad, everybody's all fucked up, we had teachers who were drinking and all that type of stuff, you know what I mean? And kind of smack their students, and okay, I still have some time, and stuff like that, right? So I've graduated the small school from 1st to the 4th grade, and then I went to the big school because I was so stupid. I wanted to. We had a cooking academy, which was just cooking school from the 7th grade to the 12th grade, and it was awesome because you literally, what you did was you studied English, you studied a bit of English, Bulgarian language, maths, and I think biology, and everything else, and maybe arts and no arts and crafts, and everything else was just cooking. They literally cook, like if you have 7, you know, like, how do you call it, 7 hours or whatever. Oh man, it's been ages since I've been to school. I don't even know how they call now. You know, you have the 45 minutes. That's 1 hour of school, right? And you have 7. Four of them are like cooking. Anyway, so I finished school, and my parents asked me, like, what do you want to do? Do you want to go to the big one, or do you want to look for something else? Now, the thing was that we find a few others, but I needed to travel, you know what I mean? Because they were in other parts of town, and every morning I need to wake up. Like, and we start school crazy early back in the day. 7:30, I think. Isn't it 7:30, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1? Yeah, 7:30 we start school back in Bulgaria. So I literally used to wake up like 20 to 7 or something, 6:40, you know what I mean? Oh my God. And because I was a lazy piece of shit, and I hated school, and I was like, I hated school because it was a waste of time for me. When I was 7th or 8th grade, I knew I'm not going to, like, I wanted to become a basketball player and then some other stuff, but I knew that I'm not going to use any of the stuff that I'm studying, and I'm not going to go for a higher education. You know, I'm not going to go to university or college. So I knew I just needed to get through the day. And for me, I was mad because they were just wasting my time. You know, why am I learning about fucking physics? Okay, Newton's second law of physics. Well, you know what? Fuck Newton. Okay, I don't give a shit, guy. I will never use that information, and I used to get very pissed off at that. You know. Also, we like chemistry. Until this day, the only thing I know about chemistry is that H2O is the symbol for water. That's it. I don't know anything else, mate. And I studied chemistry since the 7th grade, 6th grade or something. I'm gonna 4, 5, 6. I don't even know how many years that is. That's how bad I am at school. I suck at math. For 5 years, you know what I'm saying? I was like, what the hell am I studying here? Biology was kind of okay, you know, biology. But when it comes to like fucking plants and trees and, oh my God, go fuck yourself, okay? If you're a biology teacher, honestly, guy, I mean, there's some interesting aspects of biology. Like, the human body is interesting. I think it's good to know those type of stuff. And when they come to, like, we used to study, like, different, what's it? No, but I think that's it. Do we study animals? Oh yeah, we had like 1 year where we study animals. That was very interesting. But when it comes to plants, okay, listen. Why the hell am I studying the structure of a rose or whatever the fuck? Oh look, I have all these roses now. That's funny, and like of a rose, and I need to be able to name all the parts of it. Or we had this stupid stuff, right? You have, I don't know, 12 types of trees in the forests, woods, mountains, whatever, and because of the different type of leaf they have and the different coloration of their fucking trunk or whatever, there's different types, okay, and there's like 1,000 types of trees. And I remember we had a one day that we need to learn all the different type of trees. Why? Tell me, when will you ever need that information in your life to go and be like, oh, this is a fucking tree? Who gives a fuck? You know what I mean? And I used to be very upset because they're just wasting my time with stupid stuff. And you know what the funny part is? Okay, when you're in the 5th grade, okay, that was I don't know, like 2000. I need to think now. I think 2000, the year 2000 or 1999. 2001, I think, or 2000. I was in the 5th grade. Back then, the idea of a smartphone, even though smartphones, when did they come out? 2007, I think, 2010 or something. Even though it was only 5, 6, 7 years ago, the whole concept that one day you will have something in your pocket. We didn't even have tablets, or I don't think we have laptops back then, especially in Bulgaria. The concept that you have something in your pocket, that you have all the recorded information of the world will be in your pocket, okay? If we knew that, oh my god, nobody would pay attention. You know what I mean? Because there were some kids who were like, oh, okay, maybe one day I'll need that information. Let's learn it, or at least to know something. But we live in a world now that even if you go to a cocktail party and you don't know something like that, there's no shame. You'll be like, oh, fucking no, let's check it out. Let's learn something. You pull out your phone, you Google the different type of trees, and you have that shit. So why the hell do I have to stay when you're like 5th, 6th grade, bro? You just wanna like play, you wanna be out with your mates, and this is computer started, to just arrive and stuff, but they didn't have all the awesome games, so we still played outside, you know what I mean? Then when the computers came over a few years later, forget about it, we were playing the computers all day. But you just want to go out, you just want to play, you just want to watch cartoons in the evening, eat pizza, drink some soft drinks or whatever, just have fun, you just want to be a kid. Well, I'm gonna stay at home when like weather's always nice in Bulgaria. Weather's nice, right? I'm gonna finish school, I'm gonna come back, I'm gonna eat, I'm gonna take a shower, whatever. By the time I get ready, it's like 3, 4 o'clock. And I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna study about fucking trees for 2 hours? Come on, guy. Look, I'm getting legit frustrated even talking about it right now. That's how much I hated school. I despised school, right? So when I finished, I was like, you know what? I needed to travel. The distance is not that far, but the trains, the buses, they're not always on time. They're kind of slow. There's a lot of traffic, and I needed to, because we saw one school that was kind of good, but it was literally the other side of town, and I needed to change. And I was like, listen, if I have to make it there at 8, the latest, I have to wake up 5:30, get dressed, get ready, 6 o'clock leave. By the time I get ready and stuff and just go, and I was like, you know what? There's no way I'm going to be changing, and every day I'm going to spend an hour traveling, even though now in retrospect, when I look at it, that I'm spending all that time traveling to work. And I used to live in London. I used to spend almost 3 hours and a half each day traveling to work and coming back, in total. That's nothing now. I'll be like, oh, I can spend 40 minutes, 50, that's great. But it is what it is. When you're a kid, time, you have a different perspective on time, So I was like, there's no way I'm going to take the bus. So what I did is I applied for the little shitty bigger school that was literally, you can see it from my balcony, the place that I live with my grandparents and stuff. The only difference, again, there was a building. If you remove that building, you're just right there. It's a 4-minute walk. You know what I mean? It's so close. And I just applied there, and it was a disaster. That school was so bad. Okay, let me see. Hold on. So you know what we can do? I'm gonna give you like a little teaser, and this is going to be part 1. Yeah, and the next week I'm going to finish it all because it's a very, very long story. You know what I'm saying? But overall, just to give you what to expect for next week, it was so bad, mate. Honestly, like all the teachers, half of them, because they've been there for like 30 years. Okay. Oh, by the way, you know how now in America they always catch these super hot teachers banging their students, and whenever they say, oh, another teacher got caught, sexting her student or having an affair with her student, and you're thinking like, let me guess how she looks, and then they bang the picture. She's like 25, like a smoke show. You know what I mean? Back when I was in school, all the teachers were all these like from communist day teachers who been there for like 30 years. They literally we had only one. She was the youngest, and I think she was 40. You know what I mean? Everybody else was in their 50s, 60s. We had one who was probably 65, 66. You know what I'm saying? And we had like 2 or 3 guys as well, older guys. I will tell you also about my music teacher next week. She was insane. She was one of those women that kind of like she had like big orange hair, like sprayed orange, you know what I'm saying? She used to dress like a teenager. She was like all out of shape and stuff, but she used to dress so, you can see her belly button, like those little crop tops or whatever. She was 50 something, almost 60, but not like in the porn movies. Oh, a male 50 male. No. I mean, like, what the hell's happening 50 years old? You know what I'm saying? Like smoking cigarettes and drinking beer all of her life. You know what I'm saying? And not applying moisturizer before she goes to bed. That type of 50 something year old. We had that. We had we had a few crazy teachers. We had our gym teacher who I think he was banging everybody in the school. I'm not joking. It was a weird story. Like this 64-year-old guy who was super like in shape and like jumpy and stuff. We had our geography teacher who I think he had an affair with another teacher. But his wife, she worked in the school as well, and she was physics, because we had 2 physics teacher. Our physics teacher, who was like an absolute dictator, she used to okay, I'm getting too ahead, mate. Listen to me. Make sure you tune in next week for the continuation. Okay, this was just like a preface. I'm just setting up the scenario. Next week I'll tell you about all my teachers. I'll actually sit down and I'll list them all, and I'll go one by one. I'm not gonna mention names, but I'm going to explain to you how insane all those people were. Okay, let me see how we're doing with that. Yeah. Oh, damn, I need to go now. So yeah, make sure you tune in next week. Okay, and I'm going to tell you all the details of all my crazy teachers, all my crazy stories from school, how bad I was, like the girls I used to have a crush on, and all that type of stuff. I'm gonna spill the beans, and yeah, I'm going to be doing more stories because, like a few people said to me, and, when I was doing comedy, and people who listen to the podcast and all that type of stuff, and they said, like, I really enjoy these stories, about your personal life and all that type of stuff. That's about it. So make sure you tune in next week. I will give you all the juicy details of all my crazy high school years. Also, I didn't go to my prom as well, and I'll tell you the story why, because it was a shit show. I got jumped in class when I was in the 9th grade. And all that crazy stuff. Make sure you tune in next week. Don't miss this episode, okay? In this episode as well, I'm going to promote this episode, and one day when I become superstar and when the channel grows, I'll say to people, go back to episode 42 so you can hear the story. Okay, I'll see you next week. I will go now and I'll write down the names of all my teachers, and I'll prepare all the stories. I think you had a really nice picture now of my shitty, crappy neighborhood. I'll see you next week. Make sure you tune in, okay? And tell a friend, okay? Subscribe, share. Tell a friend we need to grow this fucking channel. You know what I'm saying? Okay, bye.